Welcome everyone to What the Force, and I'm Marie-Claire Gould, and we are doing our Resistance wrap-up. And with me today, kind of starting from who I can see on our shared conversation, I'm going to start with Alex. She was recently on our full animation, History of Animation podcast. So welcome, Alex.
Hey. You can find me on Twitter at Alex Leonis. That's basically where everyone would know me from.
And then we have Liam.
Hello, everybody, again. Glad to be back.
And we have James.
Wow, people still remember me. Hey, everybody.
You know, I have had demands to have more of these roundtables, so I'm going to try to do them more often and make sure that people can hear some other voices come onto the podcast and talk about things. So first things first, we're going to talk about the first season of Resistance, and we're going to do a quick roundtable of how we felt about the season, just kind of spoiler-free. And then we'll enter into full spoiler territories and deep dive into different topics about it. So first into, I guess, spoiler feelings. Let's start at the bottom. James, how did you feel about the first season?
I was quite pleasantly surprised by it. It started out a lot different than I was expecting. A lot of the characters seemed a little more, some of them seemed a lot more two-dimensional than I would have liked, but they really did grow on me by the end.
Awesome. Liam?
I was also pleasantly surprised by it because leading up to it, there was a lot of press and a big push for the adult fans not to be offended by the fact that they're making a show for kids that's not going to be for them. And I mean, 5 minutes into the first episode, we see somebody pretty blatantly getting murdered, and they didn't really hold back from there forward. So it had some kid tropes to it, but it was something that pretty much all ages could find something and enjoy.
Exactly. Alex?
I loved the first season. Honestly, it started out a little bit slow, but it took off really quickly, and the characters really, really grew on me, and the animation just got better and better every episode.
Yeah, I agree with kind of everything you guys said in that I felt like this first season probably had the quickest turnaround from character development episodes to plot intensive and sort of what is going on in the world episodes. And I got attached to every single character that we see. I am a Nico Stan for life. I love him so much. I love all the cool animals that we got. I loved all the droids we got. It was Star Wars in everything I could have imagined. And we even got a little bit of the Force alluded to with the two kids. And we even got a little bit of Force alluded to, which was amazing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go next. And what more can you ask for from a show?
But nothing blatant with the Force. We didn't see any Jedi. We didn't see Sith. There was no lightsabers throughout. It's the first Star Wars property I can think of that had half, but not. There was nothing blatant about it.
Yeah, they just referenced it. They referenced something scary, which we as the audience knew something about, but, it didn't explore it.
In the timeline, there's two. Kylo Ren is out there somewhere, currently about to go have a chat with Poe Dameron, and Luke is currently fishing.
Hiding on an island. It's true. You are right.
Don't forget Broom Boy. Yeah, Broom Boy.
Broom Boy. Yeah.
That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, soon.
That was a practiced move when he picked up that broom. He's done it before by this point in the timeline.
I mean, if you had the Force, you would be lazy like that all the time. Like, why would you bend down to pick up the broom?
For a remote control again.
I mean, he was a stable hand, so he probably didn't have a remote control, one would assume. Okay, so we're going to enter into full spoilers territory now. If we have tempted you enough that you want to consider watching the show and you want to not be spoiled, turn back, do not enter. We're going to talk about everything. So I would say deeper dive, Alex, into your thoughts.
Okay, so deeper dive. The thing that I think attracted me to this series the most was Tam's story arc, especially by the end, that you saw it coming, but it was just so heartbreaking when she finally took Tierney's hand at the end. That was like, I started crying, even though I knew in her head she was making the right decision because she lost faith in her friend. She lost trust. And it was like, oh my gosh, Tam, how could you do it? But at the same time, to Kaz and Yeager, like, how could you treat her like that for it to turn, you know?
Yeah. Liam?
I agree that Tam's storyline was fantastic, and despite it being the wrongest possible decision, you cannot fault the thought process and what led her to it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Niku was going to be a very annoying character from the get-go, and I ended up really liking him throughout. That they didn't. They were pretty blatant about his shortcomings socially, but they never played it in a mean, like a cruel way socially. He was just, that's the way he is. He's one of our friends. We're going to take him as he is. And they used his strengths. They shored up against his weaknesses. And I think that just from a life lessons sort of standpoint, I really liked the stance that they held on that.
Yeah. James?
I'd actually agree with Nico. I was a little worried he was going to be he was going to be the butt end of all the jokes, but they played him seriously, and they did a great job, I found, with that one.
Yeah. He was funny, but like it just was good, well timed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was always honest, and he was always very earnest, and they took that and they were very, very fair to the character, and I really liked that.
He was an honest to goodness nice guy. Mm-hmm. That's what it came across as by the end of it. My view of it, I started out by I'm not a biggest fan of the animation, sorry, but by the end of it, some of that stuff in the last episode was incredible. Like Liam's doing the Stormtrooper blaster. We were talking about this the other day. Wow, the details on that. I mean, I've seen some up close. I've seen some actual prop replicas. I've seen some originals, and the details in that animation. They went from kiddie anime style to how did they get a real one into the show?
Yeah.
Like I said when we were chatting the other day, it looked like a cartoon character holding a photograph.
Yeah.
Like that, especially with some of the details on the ships and the character design, like they've added so much. Like one of the pirates had an old Imperial uniform and it had the command bars on it. And I was like that sort of level of lived in universe, I feel, has been the most successful outcome of changing to this animation style, in that in Clone Wars and Rebels, it always, even though Rebels was more gritty, it always felt still kind of shiny and not lived in as much.
Not as much detail, I think, on Rebels. The builds were simpler, just like less pockets, less intricacy just to the costumes, and less hair, less hair strands on the people.
Like we've literally seen Kaz take his jacket on and off and move around in it. And I don't think we've ever seen that in an animation character in Star Wars.
And from the costume builder's perspective, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that, hard armor doesn't bend in ways that is not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though the character's arms do because of the stretch and
squash and follow through. All the rubber hosing stuff from the 1920s that the Mickey Mouse cartoons did. But because it happens so quickly, you can't even see it bend. But it works. It looks really smooth. Yeah.
It works to make him look, especially Kaz, look more animated and goofy, and show his journey from not really knowing what he's doing to, being at least a semi-successful resistance person, if not a spy ever.
Yeah, because that rubber hosing stuff did get toned down by the end. Like how the series developed to be more serious, so did the animation. It became subtler and more in the face and acting within the eyebrows and the eyes.
Well, and that struck me as something that was done purposely, that it took away some of the goofiness and showed the character himself maturing as they went. Because Kaz has basically had 3 seasons worth of Ezra so far, just in terms of his arc and his maturing.
And I just actually, maybe we'll get into characters in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about the plot arcs. And I see very much that there was almost 3 plot arcs for for the season, in that there was the beginning, which was all character builds, introducing us to the station, introducing us to wacky, zany things that happened on the station. Then we, as soon as we got past this like character, like who everybody is and what they're all about, we got into what is going on. And that's when the First Order really started to influence the station. That's when we got the two kids showing up. That's when we got a little bit more of the secrets with Synara coming aboard the station and the pirates attacking and the consequences of those things. And then we got the end kind of arc, which was really the First Order was truthfully there. Everybody was kind of on edge. Tam was starting to suspect everybody. Synara disappeared from the station and went back with her pirate folk. What are your thoughts on kind of how the season progressed, and maybe you saw it a little bit differently than I did? James?
I kind of like the fact that it was something I heard recently, and it really rang true with this show. It's when you put as much effort into the backstory and the background in the universe as you do into the story you're currently telling. And that was really, really something that drew me into this series. Like, they were laying down stuff for the third arc in the first couple of episodes. They were, and it wasn't a case of there was no clear cut. It was a nice, smooth, it's like, well, we're going to end this arc here, and then we'll begin. It was like, no, before one was done, you were already starting to pick up the next. So they really, I really enjoyed it. Some of the characters really were quite well, like the depth of a lot of the characters was very well done. I'm actually kind of looking forward to finding out more about the new character, or the rest of the ones we haven't learned much about.
Yeah. Liam?
Yeah, I would touch on what James just said, because that was something when we did the episode right after the first
Premiere?
episode.
Yeah.
Where I had said that every character walking by in the background looked like they could take the camera and follow that character around for an episode. There was no paper cutout people in the back, and they really lived up to that throughout the first season. Except before the show launched, they did a lot of hype about the Ace pilots, and here's the introductions to all of them. Here's their names. Here's their backstories. And then
who likes a red herring?
Yeah, they were just,
right.
Yeah, they were just the cutouts in the windows in the background. They were the ones that were most of the.
I think by the end of the season, we got to hear all of their voices. Like, that's kind of where we were at.
Yeah, maybe once or twice for most of them, other than Doza and Faison.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they
Faison
walked through from time to time, but that was about it.
Yeah, like I thought we would get way more of Freya Fenris because of how much they kind of pushed her voice actress, especially at the beginning. But we didn't. I think that's a fair argument critique, especially of the intro advertising and hype.
That said, it is not a criticism on my part. I have stated many times, I love a red herring.
Okay.
I love when something is taking me in one direction and then I am completely blindsided by something else. I'm not one of those people who will watch a movie adaptation of a comic book that I've read and be mad that they changed it. I like being surprised and entertained. And I love that they did that, and they said, here are these amazing characters that are already established. Here are the people that everyone is paying attention to. Now let's see what everybody else is doing. And I thought that was a really interesting plot-telling device, and I'm glad that they went that direction.
Yeah.
One of the things that surprised me this series was on some of the preliminary stuff you saw beforehand, I'm going to say the conversations that were happening was a lot of it seemed to be that this is going to be we're not following one character. We're going to be seeing everything that's going on the station. We're going to see things from the different perspective, the aces, this. And that was a lot of the way, like, it was never stated, but it was very heavily implied. And a lot of the conversation seemed to be going that way. Because, I mean, you've got these amazing characters. And then I think that's what threw me at the first little bit is it's like, oh.
It's all about Kaz.
It's the Kaz show.
Yeah. Maybe they'll go more ensemble in future seasons, but, they needed to really frame it around the fish out of water plot hook to say, this is Kaz's story and this is our introduction to this world at this point in the world. Alex?
Yeah, I was just going to go off of that. It makes me wonder how separate like Disney Channel advertising is from Lucasfilm, and if they decided on like their behalf to advertise it. Like,
oh yeah, that could be what happened.
And I was also going to say what James was saying earlier about how each arc had clues to the next arc.
Mm-hmm.
I think is just proof that Lucasfilm has a plan. They have a plan for everything. They know where they're going, and they've been planning it the whole time. And like, for people who say that they're not planning what they're doing next, like, I don't understand it.
Okay. So for this next section, I think that we should talk about what our favorite main character is, and then what our secondary background favorite character is. So somebody who either doesn't appear in all the shows, or is like even like the Pumpkinhead guy that sweeps the floors and gets upset that everybody keeps on stepping on his floors. So main character, and then background or secondary character, and why. Okay, let's start with Liam, because I haven't gone with you first.
I was about to say, don't start with me. I can never remember names.
Okay, I'll go with me first. Okay, go good. Okay, for me, I think I've already said that I'm a Niku stan. I think that Josh Brenner brings so much joy to this show. He just adds like a whole layer. I really would love to say Tora. I've really loved what's happened with her character this whole season. She's really grown up, but Niku is where my heart is at. And secondary characters, I'm gonna cheat and say Orca and Flix, because they're like the gay married couple of the shop. And
damn it, those were the names I was looking up.
You can say them too. I love that we have that dynamic. We're leaving. We have to go see my mother. And like, unironically, just said it. Kaz is like, okay. and like moving on, and like that the Gorg he brought them to eat, like ended up becoming their pet. Like it just is, I don't know, I just love that relationship. I love that we get to see them every once in a while and like have a weird glimpse into this odd marriage.
Yeah, the Gorg ended up being their purse chihuahua.
Yes, exactly.
So how does everyone feel about Orca eating bacon?
Does bacon exist in Star Wars?
Well, he's eating puffer pig bacon in the finale. So,
I mean, is Orca actually related to puffer pigs? I don't know. That's true. Bacon will eat bacon. So Liam.
Bacon is.
Liam, characters?
I also really enjoyed Flix and Orca. I just got a kick out of it anytime they were on screen. I really loved the dynamic that they had from the instant that they were on there. There really was no character development there because they came on screen fully developed already. I really like Jarek Yeager as well. I thought he was a great sort of a father figure to the group. Mm-hmm. He held a lot together, and you could see just how conflicted he was a lot of the time. Yeah. For just about everything. I also have to disagree with you because I know you well enough to know that your favorite character wasn't in the last few episodes because he left to go back with Poe.
You know what? I do love BB-8, but Niku stole my heart. It's true. Like, and I did love CB, and I loved all of the droids that we got, like Doze's droid in the office. That was really cool. We got to see the security droids, but yeah, no, I loved Niku. Okay, who was your main character? Oh yeah, it was Yeager. Okay, Alex.
Kaz is my favorite.
Aww.
Mostly, so for different reasons, but really because I would love to get my hands on like animating him. Seems so fun. Like those noodle arms, like I just want to animate them. I want to animate his eyebrows doing crazy things. Because his like Christopher Sean's voice acting has been so fantastic this season that like just the way he says things, like I would like take that and run with it and act the hell out of that.
That's awesome. Background character?
I like Flix and Orca.
I mean, who doesn't like this married couple?
CB23 also.
Oh.
If I was gonna go with someone that I would want to animate most, it would be Hype.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever drawn a Rodian?
No, I haven't. But the way he was moving, especially like I think it was in the Hightower episode where they're all visiting, and he was just like bouncing off walls and twirling around, and that's the kind of things that I like to animate. So I'd like to animate him.
Nice. James?
I would. Oh man, there's so many that you have to like. I'm gonna kind of go with I like Jaeger. He's a character where there's a lot of background, and I want to learn more about him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just so cool. I mean, his family and all that stuff is when they brought in his brother. There's a whole lot of cool arcs that can happen with him. So I'm kind of looking forward to him. Honestly, I would probably have to say Griff. There's something about that character because I mean, in the last episode, well, I mean, aside from the fact that he's got like an old tie helmet with a wonderful paint job on it that's kind of old and battle scarred. Think about this. This is a former Imperial trooper. Last episode, he should have been he's got the cogs tattooed on his arms. This is a guy who's Imperial to the core. What does he do? Stands up to the First Order. This is one of the people who should be the first in line going, what do you need me to do? I'm here to help out, sir.
Yeah, the First Order is obviously different in, I guess, some former Imperials' minds then, right? Like, that's what we can assume from that.
I think he might be disenfranchised. Something might have happened. There's got to be a background there and the reason why he's not stepping up.
Well, it's because it's the First Order. It's not the Empire. They're the hipster version of what he used to love.
With their granola eating.
Well, that would still be the story I'd love to see.
Yeah.
To add on to loving Griff, his ship, the Black Ace, is probably my favorite of all of the Ace Pilot ships because it's got that the TIE Fighter cockpit, and then it's basically a racing ship built around it.
We're going to get into relationships later, but actually let's take a moment and talk about ships because there was a lot of really cool, interestingly designed ships on the Colossus and ships that actually went to go like elsewhere, like the pirate ships and the little like skiffs that were used. What was your favorite ship, James?
I'm going to steal from Liam and say currently it's the Black Ace. I mean, I like them all, but something about that, yeah, I know. I'm Imperial to the core.
Yes, you are. Little 501st in there. Okay, my favorite ship. Oh, goodness. I think it's Tora's. I really love how it's like a hot rod that her dad bought her. And I'm totally referencing what James said at the first part of the season. But I love that it's like this cute little zoom car. Like, I just love how cute it is. Alex?
The Colossus.
That's cheating. Damn it. That's amazing. No, the fact that it turned into a ship.
I don't know what kind of shape it's in right now, though. It got a lot of like attack on it, so we'll see in season 2.
Well, I mean, that thing is from what I read, because that surprised me. I went out and hit the internet looking at prepping for the show. That thing's a fuel depot ship. That thing's designed to go into a combat area, take a beating, and make sure Star Destroyers are refueled and ready to go into combat. So it's not exactly a delicate little flower.
Look at you prepping for the show. I'm so proud of you. Liam?
I started it.
Okay, so you're still staying with your. You could have changed.
No, I really like the Black Ace. It's my favorite design.
Cool. All right.
The Fireball definitely keeps things interesting, though, because you never know when it's going to live up to its name.
So we're going to go quickly into maybe our favorite episodes or kind of set of episodes that really kind of made the show for us. Let's start with Alex.
So the first episode that I really felt like, wow, this is something was Secrets and Holograms. That's the one where Tora and Kaz go on their little mini adventure and they end up in the incinerator.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that episode was, like, for me, the turning point of it becoming a great show from being a good show. That I guess the rivalry between them, like, I was really, like, into that. So I think that's my favorite episode earlier on the season, but then when we got towards the end, I really liked Descent and then like the 2 finale episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that whole arc at the end was really great. James?
I'm kind of torn. There's a bunch of them. I like the last episode because it seemed to tie a lot of things together and it was really surprising, a lot of the things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Hype coming back with, what's her name? Z. Sorry. and the ship and all that stuff. And then it's like, they're calling out for help, and their call for help gets the answer of, we'd like to, but we're kind of busy over here. Sorry. And they're truly on their own there. I really liked how that worked out. And the fact that, they managed to kick the First Order off of I just blanked on the name of the ship I was enjoying.
Colossus.
Yeah, they kicked them off the Colossus. I kind of liked how everything came together with that. It brought out a lot of, they were truly working together, and you got to see what everybody could do. Especially, them hiding, trying to get shipped off to his mother's.
That was awesome. Liam?
I really enjoyed Station Theta Black, where he and Poe end up in the First Order mining facility. And I found that for Kaz, who I didn't really care for as a character up till then, that was a big turning point for the character, where he kind of realized that, yeah, this is real, and he has to start fighting back and taking it properly seriously. And I thought there was a lot of character growth, even though it was very much an episode in a bubble, that the rest of the characters were removed and allowed Poe and Kaz to have that character growth.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to cheat and choose 3. Although I really loved the end, especially the reveal of the Colossus, I very much enjoyed the Children of Tahar, where the 2 kids who seem to be Force sensitive came onto the scene, and they're like, and then he showed up, Kylo Ren, and Kaz is like, what's a Kylo Ren? and then like we got that information given to the Resistance, and it felt like that episode really, other than like having Poe and BB-8 in the show, like really interlaced it into canon, because we know Kylo Ren's a bad guy. We know these kids are scared of him, and we know now Kaz has heard the name. And it just felt like, especially the sequel trilogy, it's all syncing together. I really liked the Bebo episode. I don't care if anybody else didn't like it. Giant, incredibly animated sea creature and little cute smelly sea creature. Like that is Star Wars right there. And then I really loved the First Order occupation and the sort of semi-redemption / hope that we see with the Kaz and Synara. Like, yeah, so Kaz and Synara, and the fact that, Synara was a bad person spying on everybody for the First Order through the pirates, and she ended up, escaping, and he gave her a second chance, and he understood who she was. And I don't know, it's everything Star Wars in that show, in that episode.
You said well animated. Star Wars is supposed to have poorly animated cheap creatures.
That's what I was going to say. If it was pure Star Wars, then it would have been a second act badly animated giant monster.
I mean, we've moved past the Zillow Beast animation, apparently. Perhaps we will be moving past the poorly animated creatures in the second act. Or is that just tradition for the movies?
The Wilhelm scream, I've got a bad feeling about this, and a badly animated second act monster.
That's all we can ask for, right?
Yeah, otherwise they've destroyed my childhood.
Sorry, what, James?
They had them in The Last Jedi. They're putting effort into these.
I know. Well, are you talking about the Fathiers?
Them, the fish, a whole bunch of things.
The fish? Which fish?
The one that Luke catches over his shoulder, it looks kind of cheesy.
Oh, that's, yeah. Nah. I mean, they paid a lot of money to have that Thala siren, shipped in to, yeah, I know it.
I read an entire article
cool.
about Thala sirens. It sounded like absolute hell filming that scene.
Yeah, it cost a lot of money. They had to, helicopter it in, and,
There were people sewn into those suits. Because they couldn't have any seams showing.
They really committed to having that scene. I wonder why. Okay, let's just talk about the relationships. And we can talk about character relationships too, but I'm more interested in the romantic relationships, because there certainly is something going on with Kaz and Synara, and they're together now at the end of the show. What? But how are you guys feeling about the relationships in the show? Alex?
At first, I'll be honest, I didn't see Kaznera. I didn't find there was the chemistry I wanted, but by the end, I'm on board with it. I do ship Kaz in the way future with someone else.
Who?
For now, he can be with Synara.
Who?
In 5 years from now, him and Atora.
Okay, like when she grows up a little bit more?
Yeah, when she's not a kid anymore. I don't ship them right now.
Fair. All right, Liam?
I appreciated that there wasn't anything that seemed forced.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's, okay, now we have paired these two so they will be in a relationship. And the relationships that happened did seem rather organic. I had expected it to be Kaz and Tam because the formula tends to be the new person that's introduced not getting along with the person of the opposite gender. It's okay, these two are going to end up together at the end. And they ended up very not. So I appreciated that they
still could happen. It could be like a Romeo and Juliet scenario across the First Order and Resistance.
I'd go more with Luke and Leia.
What? Do you think that they're more like siblings?
That's what that'd be the relationships that I was going to talk about. It's kind of like a family happened there.
I guess, yeah.
You have the brother and sister. I mean, they snipe at each other, but except for the last episode, God help you if you go after, nobody picks on my sister but me kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got, Yeager is the dad, two brothers, the daughter,
Bucket.
the metal son. But no, Bucket's more of the crazy uncle.
Yeah.
I'm going to call my ship right now, Niku and Freya.
Well,
Dave Filioni, if you're listening, because we know you are, let's make it happen.
I mean, there's also the Tam and Phazon history, right? We don't know anything about that, and they have like all of this history, which there was a definitely chemistry as much as like it was like angry hate chemistry on one side and like what did I do on his side. So there's definitely that. We also have Tora and Kaz, of course. We also have
Synara and Tam.
They paired up and it was awesome. And it would be really cool to actually see that. I don't know if we'll get it, but I mean, I eternally hope we'll see on-screen queer relationships in Disney, and
they have one. They're just not the same species. They work in a store in the basement.
True.
I mean, yeah, but it's not confirmed. They're just best friends at this point to kids, right?
Yeah, sharing a crate to their mother's house.
They were in there for 5 days.
I mean,
I do wonder if Synara will have any job within like Tam's redemption, because Synara was the one person on the Colossus that Tam really like related to, and she felt like they were honest with each other. So maybe, like, who knows what season 2 will bring.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about my favorite ship, which is BB-8 and CB. And I love them so much, and I want them to have droid babies and just wave at each other all the time and like bump into each other slowly, like they're hugging or kissing. That's all I want. Just one of those. Dave Filoni, who happens to be listening. Okay. So on to the technical stuff. It definitely seemed like the show improved over the course of the season. I feel like the lighting design especially got way better, and so it lit things and made it stand out better. But James, you mentioned like the blasters in the end. I think you were talking about Pyre's blaster specifically.
Well, I don't know if it was just me, but the animation style, they seem to, anytime they wanted to draw your eye to something and get you to catch it, that piece was always extremely high detail, extremely well animated. Like when the blaster gets, or when the First Order blaster gets pointed, it's there and it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's like the standard blaster you see the troopers with in the background. This is high detail. Look at me. It seems to stand out from the rest of the animation. They've done that on some scenes with. Sorry, I'm blanking on the ones, but BB-8 had one where suddenly they go into detail on him when he's doing something, or they're trying to work on something, and then suddenly that one piece is, and it's something you've seen 100 times before, but until it's important, they don't change the animation on it. If it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think that we'll get a Pyre trooper at Celebration?
I could make a bad joke about a poorly chromed Phasma, but he redid his armor. I don't think so yet. I know a couple of the makers are trying to work on the armor, but I'll go with this. Sorry, I'm trying not to be rude. I have no doubt that somebody will probably spray paint some armor gold and show up.
Like a Phasma armor and spray paint it gold? Yeah.
What I mean, but what I'm a little making faces about is this is a different style of armor. The same way that, Resistance is different than Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
This is a difference from, which is a difference from Rogue One, which is a difference from, they're
all kind of different. Yeah.
Different animation styles. I mean, it's just that there's a style there that somebody needs to build armor around.
Yeah.
And a lot of the makers are working on it, but nobody's got one out there yet.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see if there's going to be a bucket there or a CB.
Pictures that the guy's making it for Celebration.
I'm excited. I want to see it in person. That's all. So as far as the technical pieces, Alex, what do you think?
So the beginning of the season, the animation was super exaggerated, almost too exaggerated at some points, I think. Like they were really, I don't know how I would say it, like overacting every accent of dialogue, where like to me, I don't think it's as necessary. You could accent one piece of dialogue and then the other smaller accents within that dialogue, you could do just eyebrow stuff or face stuff. Mm-hmm. But they were like throwing their arms up on like every accent. But then as we saw the season go by the end, it was a lot more just like really focusing on the face and those brows. And it really, really lended itself to how the characters developed, how Kaz grew up. Like he went from being this kid to having his whole home planet being destructed. And he, like, you saw it in that performance, in the animation performance, and in Christopher Sean's voice acting. It was really sold with just like quick eye darts and those brows like really turned up in like a sad, like emotional state. And yeah, like you still saw some noodling near the end, but not nearly as much.
Yeah. Liam?
Yeah, I agree that it started off very cartoony, and I'm not sure if it was something that was done purposefully or if it was just me reading more into it than what was actually put out, because Star Wars fans never do that. But it seemed to go from very cartoony to more serious animation, and the quality of it seemed to increase as the intensity of the show increased. And then throughout, when they were having sort of little goofy moments, the noodling came back and it got a little bit more cartoony. And it was almost like the animation style very subtly shifts depending on the seriousness of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't really know much about animation other than I like the cel-shaded animation. And I feel like this is maybe the best done, by the end of the season, best done version of it I've seen. So kudos to them for doing this, especially Amy Beth Christensen for doing the art direction. And I think she did the concept art too. So amazing. And then Michael Tavera, who did the music, which felt Star Warsy. It felt Star Warsy, so good job playing in the sandbox. I don't know that I called out any specific themes other than we did get a play of Leia's theme when she was on camera. It blended more into the background than I felt with what we got with Kevin Kiner's score for Rebels. So I'm going to try to pay attention to it a little bit more when I do a rewatch again. and hopefully I'll notice it more if bigger things happen, like, Force use on screen, seeing Kylo on screen if he comes into the second season, etc. Like, maybe we'll get Rey and we'll get Rey's theme. That would be really cool, I think. Okay, so I think we did a good wrap up of the whole season. Anybody have any other kind of notes or thoughts of this season?
Can I talk about Hux's speech just a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about the end episode and kind of where we left off. That's great.
Like, it still has to do with the animation, but a lot of people pointed out Hux's speech was less animated on the animated show than in The Force Awakens. And I've been thinking about this all week because it's been racking my brain about like why they did it like this. And one thing that I kind of came across my mind was Force Awakens. We saw that speech through the First Order's point of view, through the Stormtroopers' point of view.
Yep.
But we saw Hux's speech on Resistance through Kaz's point of view. So it's almost like the whole from a certain point of view kind of like Star Wars-y thing, where Kaz saw it like very seriously and it was awful. But with the Stormtroopers, it was almost like, oh man, this guy again, like he's popping a vein in his neck.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really great point, because one of the things about Star Wars is that we can see things that happen through multiple angles. And this is the first time that we've seen that scene from TFA, again, from a different angle in a visual medium. So we've seen it kind of in the novelization and the junior novelization in the movie. But this is the first time we've seen it in a visual medium from a different angle, from a different character's perspective, especially. And with Kaz, we are focused on what it means to him. So to over animate Hux might take away from Kaz's emotional journey.
Well, we go back to what I was saying earlier. It's he's not the center of that scene, so he's not getting the extra details. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I did find him stiff, though. Even though he was more subtle, I would have liked them to have made him a little bit less stiff.
But at least he was pasty-faced.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they probably held off on making him over-animated just because the characters that are seemingly more animated and more moving around in that are more likable. And they think, especially gearing towards a younger audience than in the movies, making him a little bit more stiff and a little bit more of just, well, it just made him not as humanized and not as likable on screen.
Okay, so we're going to go into season 2 predictions, and then we'll go into our own predictions. But I'm going to read a few from Twitter and call out people who, participated in the conversation today. And I have a few from some other places too. All right, so Steve said, Alex's dad, aka Alex's dad, I think with the pirates on the ship now, they'll end up somehow at Batuu. Yeah, and that because it's pirates, Hondo will appear and we will get Jim Cummings' voice on Star Wars again.
That'd be good. I'd like to see an old Hondo.
Like really, like old man Hondo, right?
Yeah.
Well, have you guys seen the animatronic for Galaxy's Edge yet?
Yeah, he's there. He's on. He's in
more real than
land.
some of the people who work for Disney.
It's a little cool. So, what do you guys all think of that idea?
I saw a lot of predictions that they're going to end up on Batuu. Around Twitter, there was a lot of people guessing that one. I would love for that one to come true. I'd love to see an old Hondo. I think he was such a great character that seeing him maybe a little bit more settled down and, maybe he's been retired for years and they show up or something along those lines, I think could really give a lot more growth, because Hondo was always a character that helped other characters figure stuff out. Not on purpose, just because he'd screw them over and then they would have to figure stuff out.
I just wonder if it will get him to talk about my old Jedi friends, which makes me feel really good. And like
Ezra's been living with me for years. I don't know why they've never come and picked him up.
I know he's been there he is. That would be a really
there he is.
really interesting way to bring him in, and he would be 50?
Ezra?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he would be 20.
Isn't he Luke's age?
Yeah. So 25 plus 30 years, so he'd be 55. Can I math?
I'm doing math in my head, right? I always took Ezra as being a bit younger than that. I didn't think
No,
he was 20s. I thought he was in his
he
teens.
was born on the day that the Empire became the Empire. Empire Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the end of the war, he's 25-ish, and then plus 30 years.
Sorry, yeah. James forgets that we see it in one season, but that could be a couple of years worth of real time for them.
Yeah, I just don't think that we're going to get him before we tell his story where he's been with Thrawn. Like, I feel like that's going to be the next time we see Ezra. But Batuu, totally. I think that's, I mean, kids see it on their show that they love, and then they want to go there. I mean, that's why they, yeah.
Yeah, from a marketing point of view, it makes a lot of sense.
Also, from just a story perspective, they're trying to tie everything all together. So I guess, yeah, that's really great. Let's see here. BB Kate Art, who is our friend Kate online, she wants everyone to get new outfits and they all look amazing. And the follow-up to that is that they get a prom episode or some sort of beach episode. Like, just like teenagers, like the idea that, like they need a non-serious version where they can wear different things. Or
I think they're going to get away from the ocean for a while because they just spent a whole season there.
Yeah.
But I can see them getting new outfits for sure. I'd like Tora to get a lounge outfit. She's always in her like pilot gear, and at least Kaz can take off his jacket and he looks comfy. But with her, she's just always wearing that outfit, and it's like
her jumpsuit,
lounge like clothing.
Give Tora pajamas.
Yeah.
I kind of took it as that really worked for the character, though. The design, the idea behind that. She is such a hardcore, everything about her is about the ship and about the racing and about the, I can't think of a non-derogatory term for the game for some of those Japanese gamer girls who are all about it, and they've got all of the bling for the outfits.
And despite being a very well fleshed out three-dimensional character, she is trying very hard to be a two-dimensional character.
Very hard. We also got from Nettie that she also thinks that they're going to go to Batuu. That's great.
The one from Nettie, that was one I actually commented back that was my prediction as well, because of the way the timelines were lining up. I've got her tweet up here. It says, they land on Batuu, and the reason why Leia's allies in the Outer Rim didn't respond in The Last Jedi will be explained. My guess is it's not because they couldn't it's because they couldn't for some reason, not because they just didn't want to.
Oh.
So I think that they're going to receive Leia's distress signal, try to respond, and maybe all communications are being jammed to the base the base from The Last Jedi on the red planet whose name I can't remember.
Great.
Thanks. And I think that would, just from a feelings standpoint, it would be very nice to know that the rest of the rebels and the resistance didn't just go, well, it sucks to be you guys, but actually wanted to respond and couldn't. So that the resistance isn't just that dozen people that made it out, that it is still alive and well in the galaxy.
I'll touch on this a little because that's actually something that I was thinking about with some of the information that's been coming out in Resistance. I think the fact that, the First Order we're seeing in Last Jedi and Force Awakens, that's not the true First Order. There may be the reason why is when they went after them, suddenly the First Order had Star Destroyers drop into thousands of systems. And they're like, we got the call. We're going to, oh God, no. I'm just going to, turn off the radio and go about my daily business and nobody's going to see me again. Because, I think that
they're hiding.
I think the fact is the First Order came out and we're doing something. Yeah, they came out in force. They just showed up, and they're like, well, hey, guess what? We were in the Outer Rim. You didn't know what we were, but they're alluding to this in the entire series. There's enough for thousands of ships.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
and each one of those ships is a manufacturing facility where they can make the landcraft because they showed that. So I think the First Order is going to be a lot bigger and a lot more impressive. And I think that's all. I think that we're going to see something like that in Episode 9.
Here's another one from Vundacast Productions. Bold prediction, Kaz, Niku, and company will run into Rose Finn after TLJ. First 4 to 6 episodes and will be in the TLJ timeline. All others will build to episode 9. Hope Phasma returns and maybe Kylo Ren against the Aces is my wish. I personally think, like in maybe opposition to this, that we're gonna get a humanizing Kylo Ren moment in the start of the second season. Something's to get kids ready for the idea of a redemption story if it happens. And if not, I'm okay with being wrong. I don't feel like I'm the smartest person in the world, so it's okay.
I would sell my soul to have a Kylo flying scene in Resistance.
Oh my God. Can you imagine him in the silencer?
I love the silencer.
It's so awesome.
It's my fave.
It's amazing. Alex, did you want to read Shannon's tweet?
So my friend Shannon sent one in too. And she said, so excited. I think we could be going to Batu, or at least we might see them identify it as a possible place for the Resistance to hide. I could also see the mid-season finale being the Colossus receiving Leia's call for help, maybe even joining up with them.
Oh, cool.
And she also said, also, I wonder if Tam will be involved some way in the Stormtrooper Rebellion. I don't know how, but that would be rad.
Yeah, a lot of people are calling that there's going to be some sort of Stormtrooper Rebellion in 9, especially kind of with Finn and like that turning away from being a Stormtrooper and a way to kind of resolve something that's called out in the Last Jedi novelization, where Hux really calls out that the Stormtroopers are the legacy of the Jedi because of the Clone Trooper program, and like a way to kind of resolve that whole idea, especially if we're saying that 9 is kind of the end of this saga, which we are.
I would say that with the prediction with this last one, I'm not sure that they would want to tie in the animated that closely into the movies, where they're basically the animated movie is getting involved with the live action movie. I think they'd still like to keep them definitely related and definitely talking to each other, but more at arm's length. That's why I really like the theory that yes, they're going to receive the call, but they're not going to be able to respond.
I mean, they definitely did it in Rogue One, where they had several callouts referentially to Rebels mid movie. So they had, the Ghost in the fight, they had General Syndulla, and they had Chopper kind of off to the side. So I think that they'll put them in if they can, where it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's little sort of background involvement. It's a little almost like an Easter egg. But I don't think they're going to have basically the Colossus hooking up with Leia's rebellion or resistance faction and being that closely involved. My opinion, and I'm just a casual fan, so what do I know?
Actually, I've got a really dissenting opinion compared to what everybody is saying.
Okay.
I think they are so screwed it's not even funny, and I think it's going to make for an incredible second season. Something they've always said in Star Wars is whenever you're going to hyperspace, you need to calculate. You need to know all the stuff between where you're starting and where you're going.
Or you could bounce too close to a supernova.
And they basically punched a bunch of random digits in and floored it off to somewhere. I think the Colossus is going to be in some serious trouble. I think that they'll get the call, like they're saying. I think that would be a great place for the Easter egg to tie in. And I think they're going to be, because one of the other things I've been hearing about episode 9, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but this is going to take place years after episode 8. Because I mean, episode 7 and 8 were 15 minutes apart, and episode 9 is going to be years. They're going to be, so I think that they need to find something to do with these guys, because they may get the call, but they're going to be like, we kind of have a hole the size of right through our main thruster. We're kind of trapped here in the Delta Quadrant or something.
Yeah, like they're stranded, right?
I think they're going to be in some trouble. And I mean, in Solo, they had to calculate the fastest way to get the jump done, and they still needed this. It took time to do this. He basically said, "Here's the coordinates." They said, "All right, we're off."
So I have another prediction from a guy I know on Twitter called Donnie Jeep. And he says we're definitely going to get Billy D. Williams voicing the voice of Lando in Resistance.
Ooh, that's a great prediction.
I love it. Yeah. And I think you're right, James. I think it's going to end up really, things are not going to be good for the Resistance people, because I think what they're planning on doing is very much filling in the gap, whatever that gap is. For whatever seasons of Resistance that they need to go through, and very much filling in the gap like Clone Wars did kind of after Revenge of the Sith, and saying, hey, there was maybe like 2-3 years here, 3 years, 4 years, and now Resistance is going to continue on and tell that story of what happened between that time period. And maybe we'll get, more cameos from like, Rey or Rose or other people once they get out of that scenario, but definitely telling us what the state of the galaxy is throughout that time once we get 9. Okay, so on to personal predictions for season 2. James, you kind of went into your own one, so I'm going to skip you unless you want to add to it.
Well, I'll go with this one. I think whatever they're going to do is going to make it really interesting. It's going to help with the story. This is very story-driven, which I'm kind of enjoying. I was a little worried when they said this is going to be for kids. I'm like, my son's 7, and we've been rewatching some of my favorite classic cartoons. I'm like, how the hell did I enjoy this crap? But that was my biggest worry. Like, I can appreciate a kids show, but I think this is very story-driven. The characters are well thought out. And I think whatever the heck they're going to be doing with this, it's going to be kind of cool. And it's going to help drive the story. But whatever they're going to do, they have to, wherever they're, whatever happens, they have to be able to get in the First Order, because that has to get tied back into it. So, and I mean, I think there's going to be a bit of a redemption. And I think it's going to be a bit of a family infighting happening.
Sounds good. Alex?
I think Tam's going to be a TIE fighter pilot, because that's what she wants to be, a pilot. And Tierney basically told her, like, we'll give you what you want. You can be a pilot. So I think we're going to see her in FO gear in a TIE. And I think she's slowly going to discover how the FO is run and how deceitful they are. And she might feel trapped there because her old friends are now gone somewhere and she doesn't know how to contact them. So yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see the First Order through her eyes and see how her character understands how that's working and how it's not what she thought it was, and then be feeling trapped and not knowing how to get out.
Do you think that, just to call back to a great novel, Lost Stars, that we'll get kind of a Lost Stars, opposite sides of the conflict scenario?
Yeah, I don't know if we would get the romance aspect of Lost Stars, but I think definitely we'll see that.
Okay. Liam?
I really think it's going to be a very split season between what's going on in the Colossus and Tam's storyline. I think they kind of held her a little bit back as a primary character through the first season, but she still had so much development that I'm hoping that she gets, I'd say, at least 25 to 30% screen time in the next season, as she is kind of slowly being indoctrinated by the First Order. And I also think that she's probably going to end up in a TIE fighter. I could see late in the season when the Colossus and the First Order go head to head, that Tam goes out as a TIE fighter pilot for the First Order, and maybe even has her wake up moment that oh wait, we're the bad guys now. Maybe even shooting down Jarek. I could see that. I could see them going with that.
Oh my God. It's really interesting because the First Order likes to indoctrinate people from birth, right? So I don't know that I've seen a story in canon where they've adopted somebody and taken
cough, Phasma. Cough, cough, cough.
No, I mean other than Phasma, sorry. Other than Phasma, and then she ended up indoctrinating people, but for the most part, with their military. No, he's not in the military structure. He's an exception.
But I could see her getting sort of the indoctrination, the boot camp treatment, and starting to drink the Kool-Aid and then going into battle, shooting down one of her old friends and allies, and that's sort of where the wake up is going to be. Could be also a very good cliffhanger in this season finale if, say, she were to shoot down Kaz and not know, it would seem like maybe he was killed. I'm sure they'd bring him back in the next season, but it could be sort of the snap awake moment that brings her back into the fold.
Yeah, some people are calling that Doza's going to die because all parents die in Star Wars.
Well, then I'm going to go back to it being Jarek Yeager.
Yeah.
Do you think that Hype will finally join the fight somehow? Because every time the pirates were on the Colossus, he didn't, or the FO, like he just kind of stepped back and was like, I don't deal with that.
Yeah, I think he probably won't have a choice. I think they said already that the Aces are going to have a bigger go at next season, and there's going to be more of them. And what I really love about the dynamic is it feels very much like Babylon 5 or like Deep Space Nine, like this station with pirates and resistance people and regular station goers, and I mean, there's still some troopers in the brig, like it's kind of this like weird motley crew, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like what ends up happening out of that and like the different mixed scenarios. And we still have the jerk like pilot that's played by Elijah Wood too, like he's still on the station, like, and we have Aunt Z and her whole scenario. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what ends up happening kind of with that motley crew.
Well, Aunt Z kills Kylo Ren hand to hand.
But in an arm wrestling fight, she would win.
Yeah.
He'd be using the Force and everything and not knowing, why isn't this working?
I mean, we just assume that Aunt Z would win all arm wrestling fights. She is a bar like matron, she's probably quite skilled in those things.
I would like to see Mustache Guy from the bar get into a fighter and maybe take out 30 or 40 TIE fighters. Just be a better pilot than Poe.
Just be like, yeah,
and then go right back to the bar. Just, well, did my part.
Oh, the weird drunk guy?
Yeah, the guy that's always in the bar. Mustache Guy. I don't know the character's name.
I love the cantina music, which I think is actually pulled from Knights of the Old Republic, like the anytime you go into the cantina in Knights of the Old Republic. So that's a really amazing callback to that. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to the second season. I feel like it's going to be a new world for us too, like how much it leads in when they decide to debut it. I think we'll probably get it around October, and maybe we'll get 9 episodes before like people have said, before 9 comes out. But I'm just hyped. I'm not hype phase on, but I am hyped.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about this coming in. I thought it was going to be really kid oriented, and now I'm really looking forward to the next season.
Like, how does it rank for you all against the other animation properties that we've had? So Clone Wars and Rebels. Where do you rank it? 1, 2, 3.
If I were going to go just based off first seasons, I would put it 1 first. Just the first seasons, like Clone Wars season 1 versus Rebels season 1 versus Resistance season 1. I think it's the strongest first season for sure.
I agree. Just based on first season.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the terms of how quickly they gathered strength, like Clone Wars took quite a while to get quite good.
I mean, mid-second season.
Yeah, Rebels was quite a bit quicker to start getting good. This one started off good. So whatever animated series comes out next, the trailer is going to be amazing.
We're sold at the trailer.
Yeah, because at the speed that they're increasing their time till it gets good, they're going to have to start going into the negatives.
James?
Well, it rates higher than the Ewoks Droids Hour for me.
Oh my God.
I am that old. It is number 3 on the list for me.
You still think that Rebels and Clone Wars had a better first season?
I really liked the Clone Wars in the first season. It got it. Well, there's our opinion, folks.
Fine. I can't argue with an opinion. Fine. I mean, yeah, Clone Wars had a lot going for it. It set up a lot of story. So go ahead.
Well, I've got also I can look back at the Clone Wars and I can see the stuff that they were, laying down for the later seasons. They've always done this in these,
Yeah.
start putting parts down early. Now, I'm not sure if they're just throwing whatever the hell they can out there and seeing whatever sticks and then picking it up later, or if they've got a major plan. But I mean, Clone Wars put a lot of groundwork into it, and I could see some of the stuff they put down getting used in the second, third, fourth, and fifth seasons.
But Clone Wars had the benefit of being nonlinear and telling stories that happened before stories later on in future seasons. So I feel like it has an unfair advantage in later seasons.
Doesn't change the fact I liked it.
No, fair. From a linear storytelling perspective, I think that this has had the strongest start. And I would like to see the next animation show be centrally focused on a female character, though. That's my only comment, is that every show, although Clone Wars was an ensemble cast and it changed focus every single episode, I would like to have the primary character be a woman, please.
I agree, and there's a specific female character that I would want it to be.
Are you talking about Ahsoka and Sabine finding Ezra out there?
I don't even care if they find him. He's living in Hondo's basement. I just want that show.
So you're hoping for like the Rebels continuation where they're searching for Ezra.
Yeah, Ahsoka is still my favorite character of any of the animated Star Wars.
Cool.
Is Hondo's basement somewhere?
I couldn't stand her at first.
Is Hondo's basement somewhere you can visit at Galaxy's Edge?
I hope so. What's in Hondo's basement?
That'd be like Club 23. You need to be an adult, and B, have a membership before you can get into Hondo's basement.
I think it depends if Hondo's broke or not, because the guy is massively rich, and then
not.
Yeah, he tries to screw somebody over. They figure the stuff out, and then they screw him out.
He likes Kowakian monkey lizards, and he also likes dancers and pirates and circus folk.
Who doesn't?
Club 23.
Circus folk that also happen to be children who are with force abilities. Sorry, I'm just repeating.
Do we know any Club 33 members that are going to get us in?
Get us into the Hondo's basement. I mean,
I know a guy who knows a guy.
What's the secret password that you have to, like, when you knock on the door to Hondo's
I
basement?
have no idea.
And then, like, you come up to the thing and they're like, and it's like, hello, would you like, what do you want? And you're like, hello, my friend.
Yeah, that would totally be the password.
And then they're like, I see you. You come into Hondo's basement. Yes. I didn't do that as well as Jim Cummings, but I tried. All right. So I think that's a really good wrap of our Star Wars Resistance Season 1 wrap up. And let's go through everyone who's on here and let everybody know where they can find you again and anything else that you want to kind of throw out there to the interwebs. James?
Well, you guys can find me at Skull's Armory on Facebook or, Skull Flare, Twitter, Facebook. That's where I am. I'm also kind of busy prepping costumes for a celebration. I've got a big surprise I'm going to hopefully reveal there. I hide out in my basement playing with paints.
Alex?
You can find me on Twitter at Alex Leonis, and I'll be at Celebration, and I've been involved with Network 1901's Lipstick and Lightsaber series recently. I've been doing all the art for it, and Shannon and I are going to have swag to be giving out. So just follow us and you'll see the pictures of the buttons of the stickers we're handing out. So you'll probably find us with those buttons.
I officially finished my episode for it, so I will be sending that, and I will be on Network 1901's episode of Lipstick and Lightsabers. I think it's April 12th is my episode, so if you want to listen to me on that and see all the amazing artwork that Alex has done and that the great introductions that Shannon's doing in the show, check that out. Liam?
Well, you can find me very occasionally on Twitter at Liam Rathgaber. Very rarely. My own podcast is called A Story Not Forgotten, and you can find that wherever fine podcasts are sold. And that's that's kind of the story of me.
And since this is coming out Monday, I want to pitch the What the Force production audio drama of Fangirls, which is going to be coming out on Thursday of this week, so March 28th. And every month after that, I hope everybody loves it. And then I also will be at Star Wars Celebration. I have lots of stuff to give people. Feel free to track me down, and I'm sure I will be around Alex and James at some point as well. So I will definitely be giving you guys stuff when I see you. So,
well, you better be sitting with me at the dinner.
Yeah, I know. We're going to
and the cantina.
We're going to the cantina, and we're going to go to the dinner too. So if you're going to those events, we will also be there. And I should be running around with Ty Black as well, who's also a co-host on the podcast occasionally. So you will see her as well.
Hey, Mary Claire. If
Yes?
listeners wanted to get early access to Fangirls episodes, perhaps by supporting you on Patreon, how could they go about doing so?
Thanks, Liam. Actually, if you go to patreon.com/whattheforce and pay a mere $1 per month, you get early access to not only the Fangirls audio drama, but also early access to our fangirling post-show deep dive, which talks about the behind the scenes with the cast and crew, as well as fandom in general. And that's hosted by Natasha Fox of Meta Machina. So that'll be a really great show as well. So a mere 50 cents per episode, and you get it early, an entire week early before anybody else, to enjoy it all to yourself. So thank you so much for listening to this Resistance wrap-up. Thank you everyone for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music composed by Christy Carew. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love What the Force, In Wild Space, Night Huntress, and Susan. We are available wherever podcasts are found and YouTube. You can connect with us at Twitter at WT Force Show or on Facebook at What the Force. Feel free to reach out to us and start a conversation. Cheers.